The United States has around 330 million people in it, and out of those 330 million, over 38 million are food insecure. As a developed nation who prides ourselves on the ideology that we promote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, food insecurity should not be something that occurs in this country, much less to our children. My topic today is discussing the question about whether school lunches should be free for all students, regardless of their parents' income level. I am qualified to discuss this subject because of the research I have done on this topic. There are three main points that I would like to discuss in the body of my speech. First, I will provide you with some background information on food insecurity in the United States. Then, I would like to explore the reasons why food insecurity is such an issue here. Finally, I will be discussing my solutions to ensure that children in America do not go hungry. To provide some background on food insecurity, I'd like to begin with some statistics. Food insecurity affects over 15 million children in the United States. Before the pandemic of 2020, the statistic was that 1 in 10 children would experience food insecurity. And while that number was already high, in 2022, that number is currently 1 in 6. In 2022, Caitlin Harper wrote in Nutrients that food insecurity is detrimental to the physical and psychosocial health of both children and their caregivers. Children that experience food insecurity are more likely to have poor diet quality, and this leads to an increase of chronic diet-related illnesses such as diabetes. They also face adverse development, social, and academic outcomes with potential long-term consequences. In preventative med, Dylan Jackson compares research that shows a link between moderate and severe food insecurity with heightened rates of disciplinary action and even expulsion among preschool-aged children. And in her book, Poverty and Famine, Amartya Sen explores the links between inequality and poverty and how lower income areas and areas such as food deserts have less access to even inadequate amounts of food. Let's go ahead and discuss some of the reasons why this food insecurity does exist in our country. In 2022, the federal government considers the poverty line to be $26,500 for a family of 4. For most of us, that amount would not even be enough to pay our rent for one person, including utilities, and to be able to fuel up our cars to make sure that we can get to work to maintain the security of having a roof over our heads, much less be able to provide a nutritious meal for our families and ourselves. The number has only increased about $3,000 in the last decade, despite the fact that we have seen a much larger growth of cost of living. Families may be very well above the poverty line and still struggle to make ends meet, causing food insecurity at home. Because of the discrepancies in what the government considers poverty and what amount is actually necessary to provide for a family, there are increased difficulties in obtaining food stamps or other federal aid programs such as SNAP or WIC. In Judith Bartfeld's book, SNAP Matters, she discusses the difficulties that families face in obtaining food stamps. In most of America, you cannot receive aid if you have more than $2,000 in liquid income or liquid assets, in addition to being under the 130% federal poverty level. For most people, either one of these categories would make them ineligible to receive these programs. However, those are very small amounts and is likely what is necessary to pay for basic expenditures such as housing. So for most of us, the requirement that is necessary to obtain for federal food relief programs would not be enough to even pay our basic bills, much less even be able to consider a nutritious meal for our families. Now that we have discussed some of the causes why children are food insecure, I would like to discuss a possible solution. I believe that all children, regardless of their parents' income, should qualify for free lunch at a place that they legally have to be present in. Just think about the last time that you were hungry, be it you had to skip a meal because you were busy, or perhaps you were trying a new diet. Were you able to concentrate? Did you have a headache? Did you feel sick? You probably weren't able to pay much attention to anything. And children experience this as well. Children just learn better when they've been properly fed. Andrew R. Ruiz states in his book, Eating to Learn and Learning to Eat, that by 1910, most of the countries that we currently consider to be first world countries, such as those in Europe, had already established programs in place to feed all of the children in schools using public funds. Additionally, ensuring that children have a nutritious meal was found to save the country economically in the future by lowering health issues and having better education rates. In his book, The National School Lunch Program, Gordon W. Gunderson discusses how there are additional benefits to establishing a full meal program for students that are not just keeping them fed. Students will develop better eating habits by being able to have access to nutritious meals every day. And in addition to that, they learn better sanitary habits. And they have more opportunities for socialization, which gives them a greater sense of community. There is often a stigma associated with children who receive free lunch, and by providing all children, again, regardless of their parents' income levels, with this free lunch, that stigma would be removed and possibly lower some bullying rates. To conclude, I just want to go ahead and reiterate that today we discussed the topic of children receiving free lunches at school. There are three main points that we touched on. First, I provided you with an overview of food insecurity in America, and then I described some of the causes of this food insecurity. And finally, I provided my solution, which was that all children should have free lunches at school. For us to be truly seen as a developed society, we need to take care of our most vulnerable people first. Children should not have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. I really hope that this speech persuaded you into pushing for programs in your local government to make sure that our children stay fed. Thank you.